Hey guys, welcome back to Check Your Leader TV and the continuation of the Battle of Liebertwolkwitz Part 2. Before we start, just a bit of a warning, you might hear some giggling, screaming and carrying on during this video in the background. That's my son playing games online with his mates. Hard to tell a 13-year-old lad to shut up when he's having fun, so I apologise for any screams and laughs and giggles you might hear in the background. Hey guys, welcome back to Check Your Leader TV, and today we're going to continue on with part 2 of our Liebertwolkwitz battle for the 1813 Battles for Germany campaign. Now, in the first half of the video, part 1, we saw that David was commanding the French forces. Unfortunately, David's wife is ill with COVID, so he is staying home to help look after her. Also, he's isolating. He doesn't want to infect anyone else. So, to that end, what's going to happen is I'm going to play the rest of the game out solo or semi-solo. Essentially, I've shared with you in the first video what my battle plan is, and David has shared with me his battle plan. And so, consequently, what I'm going to do is I'm going to game both of those battle plans strictly in accordance with the plans as I possibly can. If we get to a point in the game where I think David's plan, he might want to deviate from it, I'll take a photo, I'll send that photo through to him via Messenger, and then he can alter his plan if required. And so basically the second half of this battle is going to be played remotely, essentially. So without further ado, we're going to crack on, get straight into it. Just one thing that's worth noting, in the final phase of the last turn, we had a hand-to-hand combat between my Prussian heavy cavalry brigade and the Saxon heavy cavalry brigade. And when that was going into its second round, because we had a drawn result, I opted to withdraw. Now, when you withdraw, only the combatants withdraw, the supports remain in place. Now, fortunately, that happened in the very last phase of the last turn of the first part of this battle. So we're just going to reposition the cavalry. So essentially, the cuirasses with the Prussian cuirasses, the 4th Brandenburg Prussian cuirasses, they withdrew unformed, but the 1st Silesian cuirasses are going to remain in place, as will the Austrian chevaliers. For the Saxon cavalry, David decided that he wanted to withdraw his Saxon cavalry in behind the other regiment from that brigade. So you can see those results, what that looks like in these following photos. So essentially what's happened, and I've moved the miniatures to reflect the fact that we've fixed up the mistake. Essentially, the cavalry battle between the 4th Brandenburg cuirasses and the Garde du Corps took place just here. It was a draw, and the Prussians opted to withdraw, so they come back 6 inches and then falling in behind, unformed behind the Austrian chevaliers. The Saxon Garde du Corps, they've also gone back their 6 inches and then deviated in behind the Zastrow cuirasses. So Garde du Corps back there unformed, Zastrow cuirasses there. Now, the other thing worth noting is the astute and observant amongst you would have noticed that when Volkmann's cavalry brigade arrived, there should have been no horse artillery battery with them. It wasn't brought on the table initially because they were trailing off table coming on. Wasn't room for them to come on. So what's going to happen is because Volkmann's cavalry brigade is obeying orders, the horse artillery battery will arrive this turn. So in the movement phase, they'll come on onto the table. You can see them just actually, I've already pre-positioned them here, but they'll come on in this turn. So it's now turn 10. The coalition forces have the initiative. And so with that, let's get into turn 10 of the Battle of Liebertwolkwitz in our 1813 Battles for Germany campaign. So it's the start of turn 10. I'll just a bit of a recap. All the French brigades are activated. The only brigade on the Allied side that's not obeying orders or is hesitant is the Austrian Grenz Brigade on the right flank. Other than that, we're all good to go. The coalition have the initiative, and the first thing we're going to do is charge decks, and there's a few to be had. So we'll start with the Allies, and the first charge deck will be with the 1st Silesian cuirassiers, and they're going to launch a charge against the light cavalry brigade just here. They have their brigade commander attached. They've got glory. So let's do that charge first. Oh, and also there's a charge from the Nassau Regiment, part of Mason's brigade in the BUA. They're going to charge into this sector and attempt to eject the Austrian infantry that are in there. I think that's it for charge decks for this turn. Okay, so this is the cavalry charge. I've moved them up. They've halted 3 inches. Now we'll look at how many dice they get. Both have a start with 2 dice. Then we go through any re-rolls. The French light cavalry here, the chasseurs, they're classed as line campaign. They will get a support re-roll from, these are the Polish, their line campaign. They will get a re-roll from these reservists campaign, the 6th chasseurs. So they'll get 1 re-roll. They'll get a re-roll for being heavy cavalry versus campaign cavalry. And they'll also get a re-roll because they are grenadiers versus lower grade quality, so they get 2 re-rolls. They've got 2 re-rolls and they've got 1. We'll do the French are, the Poles are black and the Prussians are the red dice. Okay, so that's 10-4. Obviously the Prussians don't want to re-roll. The French, or Poles in this case, definitely want to re-roll. And they've gone up to 8. They're not going to attempt to get better than 5. So it's a +2 result. +2 result, cavalry versus cavalry, close to combat, lines versus column, combat with alarm. The Prussian cavalry are in column formation, not line, so they won't get the alarm bonus, but they do have glory going for them. So this will be an interesting combat. So that's that charge done. Now let's move on to the French charges. So basically Mason's battalion in here is charging these guys in there. There's no charge procedure as such for fighting in a BUA. They're simply charging from one BUA into another. That just means the defenders, they just get to shoot. They're an unformed unit, so instead of firing with 5 dice, they'll fire with 4. 1 hit, which is no casualties. So these chaps simply charge in, and then when we get to the combat phase, we'll resolve that combat. So now it's the movement phase. I'm going to go do the Allied movement first. I'll give you a brief of what happened there, and then we'll do the French movement. Okay, so for the Allied forces, the only movement that's occurred is these guys reformed just here. The Hussars pivoted slightly. The horse artillery battery has moved on and unlimbered. The Austrian brigade skirmish line has pivoted towards the Saxon cavalry here. These guys changed into line formation. The columns sidestepped. The Prussian brigades, the brigade skirmish line, and the Prussian light infantry Jaegers have moved to their right. brigade skirmish lines of the two Russian brigades have basically both sidestepped, and the Russians formed line here, and the Grenzers formed line. Even though they're hesitant, they haven't moved towards the enemy, they've just changed formation. So that's all the Allied movement. Now we will do the French movement. So for the Allies, the Zastro moved out of skirmish fire range. The Guard really haven't done much of anything else except they whipped their brigade skirmish line around to bring some fire onto those Austrians. The French columns here from Carpentier's corps formed line in anticipation of having to hold this position. The Young Guard are moving in through the woods, and that's pretty much it. So that's all the movement done. There's no off-table movement to do, no on-table movement to do. And so now we will go to firing, and the French will be shooting, the Allies will be firing first. We'll start with skirmishes. Alright, we're going to start with the Austrian Grenzers. So we're going to go from right to left. There's 3 bases in the woods. That's going to generate 3 dice, and they will shoot at these chaps here. So there's 3 dice. Nothing. 1 hit, so no casualties. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4. That's going to generate 5 dice. Shooting. Yeah, well, okay, but they're going to lose 1. So 5 dice, drop 1 to 4, and they'll shoot at these guys here. Because over half of them are near those guys, so you shoot at them. Whoops. 3 hits, so that's 1 casualty. So that's going to be 1 casualty on these guys. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7, they're going to shoot at this battery here. Well, they can really put the hurt on that battery. No, they're going to shoot at this one. So 7 dice. 1 casualty, 2 casualties, an extra hit there, but that's nothing. So that's going to take them, give them 2 casualties so far. Then these guys here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They will shoot. I'll shoot at this battery here. 6 and a 4, so 2 hits, 1 casualty. That wears that battery down. So they're now on 6 casualties. Now, this should be worn. Now this is a light battalion. Less than half can shoot. So I'm not going to let them shoot it. They'll shoot by bases, I guess. So 1, 2, 3, and their rifles, that's 4. I think I've calculated that correctly, because they would normally generate 5 dice, being a light infantry battalion, but they get 1 extra because they're rifles, so that takes them up to 6. But really only half the batch, so yeah, 3 dice at that battery that's carrying 6 casualties. No hits. Well, 1 hit, which is nothing. And the Austrians, anything to shoot at. So now we'll do the French skirmishes. The only French skirmishes that are out there from the Guard, the combined Guard. So there's 4 bases there. That generates 5 dice, and you're going to shoot at that Austrian battalion in line. And that is 1 casualty. 2 hits, 1 casualty on those Austrians just there. So actually, there are some more French skirmishers. These chaps here, I've moved them up to here. They were back over here, so in the movement phase, I've moved them up so they can shoot at those Grenzers in the woods. So there's 4 bases, which is 5, shooting into woods 4. We've rolled 4. They've got 3 hits, which is 1 casualty. So they now have 2 casualties on them, and I will have to probably think about withdrawing that brigade skirmish line shortly. Now we're moving on to artillery fire. Again, we're moving from right to left. Got this Austrian battery here. They're going to have to fire down onto these chaps here. It's just an inferior shot. Well, 12. Got to be happy with that. That's going to be at, I think there's going to be 3 casualties, but more importantly, a destiny roll. Well, I'm consulting my handy dandy battlefield accessories widget. It was an inferior battery shot because of the range. Rolled a 10, they did not move. So it was only 2 casualties, so I placed that. Now we roll on the destiny table because we've rolled a double 6 with the battery. And 6. Now 6 on the destiny table is 4 to 6. Infantry and cavalry recover 1 casualty or combat with a line. Artillery, the closest enemy unit within 6 inches of the target suffers 2 CD casualties. Alright, well that will be the young guard column to its immediate right as we look at it, or their left. 2 CD casualties. Okay, a 6 and a 1. So that's 1 casualty onto the young guard over yonder. So now it's the large Russian battery firing. They're going to shoot at the same target. So again, into that line. This time it's a 3, so they have suffered a self-inflicted casualty. So that's a casualty on the Russian battery. Now we have the Prussian Guards battery. They're going to fire. They can't fire it to any troops that are within 1 foot of them. So really the only target for them is these guys at the rear. So they'll fire at them. It's just 2 dice. This is an inferior shot because of the range. 7. That's going to be 1 casualty. And that is all the batteries firing because this battery here has got obviously nothing to shoot at. Okay, so now it's the French batteries firing. We've got this guard battery here. They're going to fire canister into these chaps because they're within 12 inches. The black dice are the CDs. Well, they've rolled a 6, which is going to be 1, and then a 4 and a 4. That's another 2, so that's going to be 3, and that is going to bring these guys up to a worn status. So they're at 7 casualties. Now these guys, because they've taken canister fire, they'll also have to test. And they're reservists, and they're now at 7 casualties, so they're worn. So they're going to be testing. Yeah, they're going to need to roll really well. I have no idea why I brought them into that position. That was kind of stupid of me. But anyway, here we go. 4. Let's see what that is for them. Great result for them. So they've come back through these guys. They've unformed the large column. And they'll be back here with their 7 casualties. All right, so moving right along. Some more artillery fire. Now this battery here, it's worn. And it's going to fire at these guys here, which are skirmishers. So it's going to be a weak shot. So the red will be the battery, and the 2 black dice will be canister. Okay, so they've gone, they've 1, so they've gone low on ammo, and a 1 and a 3, so nothing there. Actually, it's not a low on ammo result. It's just a casualty. But it's still bad, but not as bad as going low on ammo. Okay, so next battery along. Okay, now they have 2 casualties, so they're just going to be firing a standard shot. So it'll be 2 dice, plus they'll get canister. So it's inferior because they're shooting at skirmishers, but at least this time it's not a single dice. So 6, so nothing there. 3, nothing there. 6, that's going to be 1 casualty from this battery on these guys, so that's going to be enough to take a base off. That's a base gone from those. And then finally, again we have a weak, a treated battery. This one here, and they'll shoot at the same target. Again, the red dice will be the battery shooting, and the black dice will be the CDs. One, so they inflicted another casualty on themselves, but this time at least they got 2 hits. So 2 casualties back on these guys, and 1 casualty on that battery there. That's all the artillery firing completed now. So now we will go to volleys. So from the Allies, the only volleys we've got are from this Grenzer battalion just here, and another Grenzer battalion here. So this one first, they're going to be firing, it'll be an inferior shot because they're in woods, but they are a large battalion, so they get a CD. Okay, that's pretty devastating. 11, nothing from the CD, but an inferior volley with an 11. An inferior volley with an 11, that's going to be 2 casualties. Okay, and now over here, this battalion, again, no difference, large battalion, but inferior volley because of the woods. Okay, an 11 again. So that's going to be 2 plus 1, that's 3 casualties. Now they've also triggered discipline tests. So we'll do the first battalion over here, and then we'll do the second one that we see the fire. So they've got a discipline test. They are warned now, so they're lined, so they'll test as recruits. 8, they've passed. And now this battalion just here, they're testing as line. 4, they will go unformed. So now they're firing, the battalion on the left, because it's unformed, is going to be firing a weak volley. So they'll use the blue die, and the other battalion will fire with the black. And that one will be inferior because of the woods. Okay, so nothing from the weak fire and nothing from the battalion on the right. So no hits from either battalion. Okay, so now the first of the hand-to-hand combats. Polish cavalry, their line campaign, so they'll get 5 dice. The Prussian cavalry are grenadier quality. They have glory, so that's an extra 1, so they'll go up to 6. They're heavy cavalry, so they get another 1, and they also get heavy cavalry versus campaign football cavalry, so another 1. So that's 8 versus 5. So it's a 3 dice advantage to the Prussians. Okay, so 2 hits from the Poles, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 from the Prussians. So that's a win by over 3. If they win by 2 or more, cavalry versus cavalry, first round winner takes the ground and the loser retreats. So these chaps will retreat. These guys will advance and take the ground. So that's 5 on the Polish, fairly roughly handled, and 2 casualties on the Prussians. Okay, so this one here, these Nassau guys, they're reservists. They'll have, they start with 5, but they're going to drop 1 because they are fighting in attacking a BUA. And the Austrians, they start with 5, but they lose 1 because they're unformed. So the Austrians will be the red dice. Okay, so 2 hits by the Austrians and none by the Nassau. So these guys will take their 2 hits and they'll come tumbling back out here. Now have 4 casualties in total. And they will be unformed. They don't unform. Retreating troops from garrisons don't unform the troops, but they retreat through. So I'll be back here. And that is the Allies. They've won all the combats and they've had the better of the shooting. So the poor form has been continuing for the French, unfortunately. So we're now going to roll initiative, 6 ABCs each, and the French are black. 1, 2, 3, 4, and I can re-roll the 1, 5, and the Allies have got 5, but they've got a double 6, so they've got 6. So it's going to 6 ADCs be playing 5. So the 6 taskings are as follows. We're going to use 2 for post of honor, and the divisional commander is going to attach to the Brandenburg Hussars. They're going to have a brigade attachment for the Austrians, nothing for the Austrian cavalry, nothing for the Austrian infantry here, skirmish tasking without a reroll for the guards, a skirmish tasking without a reroll for these chaps here, nothing for these Russians, and simply a reroll for the Austrian infantry on the right. So that's all the taskings for the Allies sorted out. Okay, so the allocation of the French aide-de-camps: 1 to Albert, 1 to Maison, 1 to the Guard, the combined Guard, 1 to the Young Guard, and 1 to the Saxon Cavalry. They're all basically just brigade taskings to gain re-rolls. Okay, so now we're going to roll for them in turn. So Albert's brigade, well, in the tray. Albert's brigade is good. The Young Guard with a reroll, they're good. Carpentieri's brigade, they've gone hesitant. Mason's brigade with a reroll, they're good. The Guard, they've got a reroll, they're good. The Saxon Cavalry with a reroll in the box, they've got a reroll, they're good. And finally, the Light Cavalry without a reroll, they're good. So the French have Carpentieri's brigade hesitant, and because they've lost the front of the BUA, they'll be rolling 4 dice. So 4 dice. While I'm over here, I'll do the initiative roll. Okay, the 2 lowest, which is a 3 and a 4, so they have a healthy 7. That's not bad. Now I'm going to roll for the French brigades. We don't have to roll for the Prussian heavy cavalry brigade because they have post of honor. So the Austrian cavalry with a reroll. Very good. The Austrian infantry brigade, Hohenlohe's brigade, without a reroll. They're good. The Guards without a reroll but skirmish. That was a 5, so they're good. The Russians here without a reroll, skirmish. They've gone hesitant. Okay, the Russians of Helfrich's brigade, they're good. And finally, the Austrian Grenzers with a reroll, they're good. So the Russians and Prussians and Austrians alike, they have 1 hesitant brigade. So they're going to be rolling 3 dice and taking the lower 2. And they've got a 7. Now, the French, they win ties. So the French have the initiative. But wait, these guys have post of honor, which means he can re-roll the 2. So if I can roll a 3, I'll snatch the initiative back. No. Okay, so they don't snatch the initiative back. So the French still have the initiative. So the first thing we do is charge declarations. Now, David has instructed that he wants the Polish Guard Grenadiers to charge and recapture the BUA. So they're going to charge in here, which means the garrison will get to shoot in defense as they come in. Like this. one casualty on them. Okay, so that's a cavalry column. They charge 18 inches, but with glory, because by default they get glory, they get an extra 3, so that's 21. So it's easily going to be, so it's 18 and 3 is 21. So, well, that's 21. Take into account they have to move around a bit. Start this way and then that way a bit.
Oh, there's something over there. All right.
Yeah, they'll reach. Yeah. I'll tell you what, it's very, very close. So we're going to dice for it. Odds they make it, evens. Odds they make it, evens they don't. Evens they don't. So they're going to have to use the forward bonus. Well, I'll definitely get forwards. Yeah, 3 plus 6. It's easily going to reach. So they're going to charge from here into there, and they have used their forward bonus to get there. Okay, so there's also a charge coming in from here. That's the intention, but my understanding of the rules is you resolve each charge in turn before going on to another one. Therefore, these guys will get the support from these guys because they are not yet being charged by these guys. I suspect that's written that way to prevent this unrealistic coordination of brigades. So, he has 2 dice. He has 2 dice. He gets 1 reroll because he's what was it? He gets a reroll because he is elite, and he gets a reroll because he has supports within 6 inches. So let's do the rerolls. Let's do the 2 basic rolls first. Okay, 6 and 5 for the Prussians. 4 and 3. So he's going to re-roll the 3. 6. Okay, so it's a difference of +1. So he will simply crash into him. The 4th Brandenburg cuirassiers actually aren't elite, they're veteran. So they actually didn't have a re-roll. Fortunately, they didn't need it. And the other thing worth noting is because of the post of honour, he recovers 1 casualty before he charges. So he had 3 casualties on him. He's now carrying 2. Any other charges? Do I want to throw these forward now, having seen the outcome of this? I'll come back to that. Now, I had considered a charge by the Grenzers, but now with those young guard coming up, they can provide a support reroll for these chaps. So we won't do that. We'll simply, at this point, move on to the movement phase. So the French have the initiative, so we'll do French movement now. Okay, so these guys have simply reordered. They've reordered. These guys have formed square. These guys are moving up to support the Poles. They've reordered. The Wasburgers have moved in to re-garrison there, so they're currently unformed. These guys have done virtually nothing because they're hesitant. The young guard have moved up. These guys who were up here have withdrawn to the second line and they've ended up back here. And the young guard brigade skirmish line has moved this way to support and maybe to cover the gap that might appear here. And that is all the movement for the French. Okay, so an overview of what the Allied forces have done. The Austrian cavalry have moved up and their horse artillery battery has limbered and advanced. These guys have gone from square into column. These guys have reordered as have these guys. The brigade skirmish line has come up to here. They're not quite within 6 inches here of these guys, so they don't have to flee away. The Prussian Guard have echelons slightly to the right there. And on this side, all the skirmish screens are basically shuffled along to the right. They have all managed to remain within 18 inches of their closest close order unit, so there's no problems there. The Grenzer Brigade skirmish line has stepped back out of range of the French skirmishers. We'll maybe get one more shot of skirmishing out of them, and the Russian brigade of Helfich has formed into lines. So that's all the movement done. There's no off-table movement, so we're now going to go into shooting, and the French have the initiative there. Okay, so start with skirmishers. These guys here, they're going to fire at this column, but the first hit has to go onto the brigade skirmish line. So that is a grand total of 4 bases. So that's going to be 5 dice. And they've got 3 hits, which is 1 casualty, and that'll have to go onto the brigade skirmish line first of all. So we have the Austrian Jaegers shooting back. 1, 2, 3, 4. They're going to shoot at the cavalry with the first hit going on to these guys here. Okay, so 3 hits, that's 1 casualty, so that's going to go on to the guard skirmish screen. Okay, so the next lot of skirmishing is Prussian Light Battalion. Normally 6 dice all up. If more than half can shoot, they all can shoot. So they're going to fire away at that battery there. So 6 shots. Let's see if we can shoot this battery up. Right, 6. Okay, so they don't have the skirmish tasking, so that is going to go up from 7 to 9. Okay. Now these guys here, they do have the skirmish task. So there's 4 bases, so that takes them up to 5. And they have the skirmish task that takes them up to 7. They can either shoot at these guys or that battery. The battery is closer, so they're going to shoot at them. Lots of 1s and 2s. And so they got 1 hit, so that'll take them up to 3. Now, these skirmishers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, they're going to shoot at the battery as well. Six, 5, okay, so that's another 1, so that will take them up to 4. What that does mean is they won't be able to do any artillery assaults. They don't have any caissons left. So unless they gain one through some kind of bonus or whatever, they're not going to, like a destiny roll, they're not going to be able to do artillery assaults from any of these batteries in the center here. That leaves us these skirmishers here. They've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but they're shooting into the young guard unit in the woods. So they'll go back down to 4. A double 6 and a 3, 3. So that is just going to be 1 casualty on the young guard there. And finally, the Grenzers, 3 dice, and they've got a 6, a 5 and a 3, so 1 casualty there as well. Okay, so now we've got the battery shooting. So we'll start with this battery here. Okay, they're worn and they're firing at skirmishers, but they are firing canister. So the blue dice will be the battery shooting. Okay, so nothing there, but 1 hit on the nearest target, which is these chaps. Okay, now that leaves us this battery here. They're not worn, so it'll be an inferior shot. So the black dice will be the battery firing, and the red dice will be the canister from that Italian battery that belongs to the guard, the young guard. So black dice is the battery, red dice are the CDs. They've done a casualty to themselves with the black dice, but they have got 1 hit, which is another base off these guys here. But they have done another hit on themselves. Now we have this battery here. Again, it's worn. It'll fire canister at these guys here, which is the blue dice will be the battery, the black dice will be the CDs. Nothing from the battery fire, but again, one hit on these guys. So they'll go up to 4 casualties now. And that just leaves the guard battery over here to have a shot. Okay, so they're going to fire canister into the skirmishers. It's an inferior shot. The battery dice will be the orange, the black, and the casualty dice will be the little orange ones. So it's a inferior shot, but they will get 2 CDs. So 6 is nothing, 3 and 2 is nothing. So they fire canister into these guys here and haven't got anything at all. If they've been firing round shot, they would have got 1 hit on this large unit here, but it wasn't to be. So now we do the Allied batteries. So we'll start with the Austrian battery here, firing at these guys here. It's just an inferior shot. Oh, double 1. All right, I have to check that. I think that might be low on ammo. It's definitely a casualty. Yeah, so it's a fire casualty and they'll go low on ammo. Okay, that was pretty abysmal. This battery here now, the Russian battery will fire at the same target. And they've got 11. It's going to be 2 and a discipline test. Takes them up to 4. They'll do their discipline test now. 7, they pass, no problem at all. Okay, so now we'll move on to the Prussian guard battery. Okay, so the only legitimate target that these guys have that's in arc is these guys, because these guys are within 12 inches of these chaps here. So the next one along is the Saxon Household Guard, Royal Guard. So I'll shoot it then. 8, it's going to be 1 hit on the Saxons. And that's all the artillery fire. So now we go to volleys. So we're now doing volleys. The only real volley for the French is this one here. And even then it's only going to be a single CD because they're now worn from that skirmish fire. That 1 hit took them up to worn. So it's 1 CD because they're worn and there's trees in the way. So a single shot. Oh, it's gone yonder. A single shot. It's a miss. And so now these guys will shoot back. It'll be an inferior shot, but because they're a large battalion, they'll get a CD. Okay, 5, nothing, but they do get a hit from the casualty dice. So they've got 1 hit there. Actually, my mistake, a 5 on an inferior volley is 1 hit, so that's actually 2 hits. Now these guys are going to be firing at a column. Now you only get a CD at a column if it's charging, but again, it's a large battalion firing, so it's 2 dice with a CD for being large, but it's inferior because they're shooting through woods. 5, again, nothing, but they do get 1 hit from the casualty dice. So these Frenchmen go up to 2 casualties. Again, 5 is actually 1 hit, so that's they're up to 3 casualties. And that's all the volleys. So now we're going to go on to hand-to-hand combat. Right, so let's go through this. These guys start with 5 dice, and they're heavy cavalry, so they get another one, so they go up to 6. They might be veterans, but they're not versus lower grade, because these guys are elite. Now, these guys here have got 5 dice. They get 2 for post of honour, so that takes them up to 7. They get 1 for heavy cavalry, and they get 1 for elite cavalry. So they've got, what's that, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So 9 plays 6. Right. All right. 1, 2, 3, 4 hits versus 1, 2, 3. And the rest were all misses. So that's a win by 1. Cavalry versus cavalry. Cavalry versus cavalry. First round, unformed and fight on. Right. Well, we're both going to stand and reinforce. It's going to get pretty full on. Now, I've made a bit of a mistake here. It's not the end of the world. For some reason, I thought that the Brandenburg 4th Cuirassiers and the Saxon Garde du Corps were elite, were actually they're veteran. Now, fortunately, in that first round of combat, even though the Prussians rolled 1 dice too many, they did win. If I take one of the hits away from them, I just assume that one of the dice hit was the one that they shouldn't have had. I take that away, you get a drawn result anyway. Instead of winning by 1, it's a draw. And the net result of a draw is you fight on anyway. Neither of the cavalry units were pushed to a point where they were classed as worn, so that's not going to have an effect on the combat either. And in the second round, I made the Saxon Garde du Corps elite, and I made the Prussian 4th Brandenburgers elite. So they both got an extra dice for that one round, and I'm just going to chalk that up that in the heat of the battle, both of those regiments suddenly felt inspired to fight a little harder than they normally would have. So the result would have been the same. This is one of the disadvantages of playing solo. You've got no one to check what you're doing. And so sometimes mistakes don't get picked up until long after the event. All right, so both of these units are reduced to 4 to start with because they're unformed. Let's do the Prussians first. They've got 4, but they get 2 for glory, they get 1 for elite, they get 1 for heavy cav. They're pitching in with the chevaliers, so that's 5. And because they're a large unit in column in the second round of combat, they get another 1. These guys, 4, they're unformed. These guys, 5, because they're not unformed, but they're elite and they're heavy. So 7. So it's going to be 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 versus 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So 14. Let's do the Prussians first, since they initiated it. Okay. They missed with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, which means they hit with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So they've got 8 hits. Now, let's see what these bad boys can do. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 4. And missed with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So they've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 hits. 2, 8. So the Prussians have won by 2. We have to allocate the hits. So it'll be 3 and 3. And here it will be 4 and 4. So at the end of the cavalry battle, these guys have taken the ground here. The Saxon cavalry retreated now. Both units, it says losers, plural retreat. So that's 2 units from the same brigade. So that means the Saxon cavalry is now faltering. Right, one more combat to sort out, and that is in the BUA. I have removed that one extra casualty that they suffered at the hands of the Brandenburgers. I've removed that, so instead of having 8 casualties, they do only have 7. We have this melee. The Austrians will have 4 dice because their 5 is their base, but they're unformed. They haven't had a chance to rally the whole time they've been there. They've stormed in and then been getting counterattacked ever since they got in there. So they're on 4. Being large doesn't help them. The Poles, they've got 5, and their veterans versus lower grades, so they're 6, but they'll drop 1 because they're attacking a BUA in the first round. So it's going to be 5 versus 4. Okay, so the Poles have got 2 hits, and the poor exhausted Austrians have got nothing. So they'll be driven out, and the Poles win, and we'll recapture the BUA. Okay, so the Austrians have ended up back out here. They basically had to come out that side, and they've come through. They don't disorder anyone when you're repulsed or driven out of a BUA. So they come through and they've come in behind the Prussian Guard. That seems to be the most logical place for them to end up. The other option is I could have taken them out that side and put them over here. But considering that they were coming in at that angle, I thought it would make more sense for them to end up over here. So anyway, that's what we've done. So they're now back here with their 7 casualties, disordered. The Poles went in, drove the exhausted Austrians out, never had a chance to reform, and they've been thrown out at the end of the bayonet. And now that means the Allies will be rolling an extra dice because they have lost the tactical objective, which is the front end of the village of Liebertwolkwitz. So that brings us to the end of turn 11. I think we'll pick up the pace from here on in. Okay, so it's the commencement of a new turn, rolling for ADCs. The French will be the black dice. 1, 2. So it's 2 for the French so far. They can re-roll one of their 4 ones. And the Prussians have 4, but there's a double 6 there, so they'll get another 1. So they're up to 5. And the French have 3. So French 3, Prussians 5. Okay, so now we're going to roll for the Allied brigades. We're going to start from the right. So the Grenzer, Austrian Grenzer Brigade, they have no reroll. They've rolled a 6. They're fine. Helschwitz Russians, they don't have any taskings either. 3, they're fine. Menzatov's Russian Brigade in the center here, they have a single tasking and it's skirmish. Oh, that's the wrong colored dice. And it's skirmish. 6, they're fine. The Guard, they have 2 ADC taskings. One is artillery assault, and the other one is a reroll. And they're fine. The Austrian cavalry, the Austrian infantry here, Hohenlohe's Brigade, they have no tasking. They're hesitant. So we've got a hesitant brigade here. The Austrian cavalry, they have a tasking. It's just brigade attachment. They're fine. And finally, the Austrian cavalry, the Prussian heavy cavalry, no tasking, and they're hesitant. Okay, so we have 2 hesitant brigades, and everyone else is obeying orders. We'll be rolling 5 dice because the Allies have lost the forward half of the village of Liebertwolkwitz. So this is the initiative roll for the Allies. 2 hesitant brigades lost they've lost the tactical objective, so they're rolling 5, taking the lower 2. So that gives them 6. So the French will have to roll, if they can roll 6 or better, they'll have the initiative. Now of the 3 ADCs the French have, 1 must go to the divisional headquarters to shore up morale due to the faltering brigade. So that leaves 2 to allocate. Okay, so the French have allocated 1 ADC, well, like I said, 1 ADC has to go to shore up divisional morale. So they're going to give 1 to the Saxons as a re-roll, and they're going to give 1 to the Young Guard. Everybody else is going to have to fend for themselves. So we're going to start with the French cavalry, light cavalry on the right. Okay, so they're hesitant. We'll come back to the Falcon Brigade. We'll do them last. The Polish Guard, the combined guard, hesitant. The Masons Brigade, yeah, they're good. Carpentieri's Brigade, hesitant. The Young Guard with a re-roll, they're good. And finally, Albert's Brigade, they're good. So that's now this Faltram Brigade here, they're all classed as grenadiers and veterans, so let's roll to see what they get. 5. So, okay, so they're obeying orders, so they're hesitant. Okay, so the French have 1, 2, 3, 4 brigades, so they're rolling 6 dice, and they have to roll 6 on the 2 lower. And the 2 lowest is 1 and a 2, so they're 3. So that means the Allies have the initiative. Now the the divisional commander did allocate a caisson to the Austrian Grenzer Brigade because their artillery battery was low on ammo, so they've now received a caisson, and because they're obeying orders, they've got that. So that's nice. Now I should point out this French cavalry unit here. I left it there because it was reordering. The last movement phase, it reordered. But what it could have done is it could have actually moved back and done a withdrawal to the second line, but it would have been marked with a retreat marker. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move that unit back because that's not David's fault. That was mine. I overlooked that, and David did give the order to move those cavalry back. So it's out of sequence. Sorry about that. That cavalry unit there is going to move back 24 inches, and it'll be marked with a retreat marker. So I'll just tidy that up, and then we'll continue. So here they are now. They marked with a retreat marker. They would be unformed back here, and so in the movement phase they will remove that retreat marker and reorder right there. So this is where we are at the commencement now of turn 12. So there were no charges from either side in the charge phase, so we're going straight into movement. Allied movement first. These guys have stepped back, so they formed line formation and stepped back. These guys are in line formation as well, so that's what they've done. These guys have formed line, and as have the Hussars. Actually, no, the Hussars haven't formed. They're still in column, but they wheeled slightly forward, which caused the Guard Brigade's light skirmish infantry line to evade back, and they're now back there, and they took a casualty in doing so. They fled away from the approaching cavalry. The Austrian Brigade here, hesitant. They simply changed formation. The brigade skirmish line has wheeled forward because they're not affected by being hesitant. These guys reordered, and other than that, that's all the Austrians have done here, and that's all they could do because they're hesitant. They're outside canister range, so they don't have to worry about that. The Prussians have sidestepped. The brigade skirmish line, including the light battalion, have all drifted to the right. The Russians, Menzeltov's brigade has advanced. Their skirmish screen has sidestepped. Basically, there was a bit of a shuffle to the right, except for here, the Austrians, they just basically have held their ground, and the Russian infantry here has advanced forward just to provide rear and flank support for these Austrians here. So that's all the movement for the Allies. So let's go over to the French and do their movement. So let's look at the French movement now. These guys have stepped back 1.5 inches, half movement in the rough terrain. They're still within musketry range of the Grenzers, but they are trying to extract themselves somewhat because they are carrying 8 casualties. The skirmish line has come up in support. These guys have reordered following their retreat. These guys are just basically standing there. So Albert's brigade is this battalion, this battalion, this battalion, plus this battalion that is in skirmish order. That reinforced the skirmish line. The Young Guard, they've formed lines. They would have broken into skirmish order, but the thing is they don't have a skirmish tasking. So that wasn't, but they've done the best thing they can. At least they can get some decent fire onto the enemy. All the artillery have done emergency limited withdrawals, so they're all back here now. These guys were hesitant. This brigade is hesitant, so all they've done is formed line rather than trying to step back in column. And maybe in the next turn, these guys can come up in support of them. And they've done nothing. This brigade here, these guys have reordered, so they're no longer unformed. These chaps advanced closer to support the BUA. The skirmish line, what's left of it, has been thrown back out from the guard, and simply the cavalry have just got themselves into a more defensive position. And so that's it. Now we're going to go on the shooting. We're starting off with skirmishing from the Allies. All right, skirmish fire. So we'll start with the Austrians over here. They get 4 dice, but they're going to be shooting into the BUA because it is within range. Those skirmishes back there. So really, it's the only target. It's likely you're going to have 2 dice because they lose 2 because of the cover. But hey, you never know your luck. And 6 to 4, so they've got a hit. So that's 1 hit on the poles. They go up to 2. 6 here from the Guard Jaeger, but they lose 2, so they're down to 4. So that's another 1 casualty. So we should know these section here. That's 3. Now these guys here, 1, 2, 3. Sorry, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's a casualty on them. Okay, so the next brigade skirmish line along is Menzeltag now. You'll see they've bent back slightly. That's because they had to remain 3 inches away when these guys formed line. That caused them to step back. But anyway, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Skirmish tasking 7. Drop 1 because the woods, down to 6. 3 hits, so that's 1 casualty. So the Young Guard are up to 4. Now 4 from Hell's Fletcher's brigade skirmish line at them. So they've got 1 so far. And now they've got another 1, so that's another 2, that's 2 all up, so they're up to 5 casualties. And then finally there's the Austrian skirmishers. So we've got 1, 2, 3. They drop 1 obviously for the, well, before drop 1, 3. They're going to shoot at these guys in here. 1 hit, which is nothing. Okay, so that's all the Allied skirmishing done. Now we're over this side. We might as well continue with the French. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Drop 1 because of the woods. Down to 4. Shooting at these guys here. 2 hits, 1 casualty. So that will take a base off these guys. And they're now down to 2 bases. So they will definitely be getting withdrawn shortly. Okay, so the only other shooting for the skirmish fire is going to come out of the garrison. And before I go any further, I should reiterate, the fire from these guys came in on the flank. The fires from the Austrians came in on the flank. None of the fire is coming in on the front of the BUA because it's on fire. So they can only shoot out the sides. With that said, these guys have got 5 dice because they reordered. So they're going to fire out at the Guard Jaeger. Here another dice. So 5 dice. Oh, jeez. 4 hits. That's 2 casualties.
That takes them up to warm status.
Okay, so we're going to do artillery fire now. The Austrian battery over here, they're going to fire at these guys. Just so inferior shot because of the range. 4. I think that's a self-inflicted casualty. And then the Russian battery, they'll shoot at these guys here. Actually, no, they'll shoot at these guys as well. 10. All right. Inferior battery, 10. It's going to be a discipline test. They haven't moved, so it's 2. I think they were at 4, so they'll go up to 6. So they'll have to do a discipline test now. They're aligned, so they'll be testing as recruits. 7. They will go unformed. Okay, so they're not happy about being blasted. Okay, that just leaves the Prussian guard battery to shoot. Okay, so over there, and they're shooting at this battery, engaging in some counter battery fire. So the red is the battery firing, the 2 are the CDs because they've got artillery assault happening. Okay, 7 is going to be 1 and another 1. So they've got 2 casualties, that takes them up to 3. Now, because this battery has taken fire, they have to do a discipline test not to engage in counter battery fire. So they'll do that now. So they will engage in counter battery fire. I'll just check to see if they're not veteran gunners. Actually, these guard artillerymen are veteran gunners. 6 is a pass, so they don't have to engage the battery. Instead, what they'll do, well, they're hesitant, they couldn't anyway. They have to fire directly to their front. The only target directly to their front and within effective range is this column here. They can fire through the skirmishers, and they will. So they'll fire at the column behind the skirmishers with round shot. It's an effective range, so the red dice will be the CD. Okay, so they've rolled a 9 and they've rolled a 4. So yeah, that's a total of 3 hits. Being hesitant doesn't affect your rating, but does make you inferior. So 3 hits total, that takes them up to 9. They're reservists, but in column, so they get promoted 1, but they're worn, so they drop 1, so they'll test as reservists. 8 and they pass. Mind you, with 9 casualties, they're in a pretty bad way. That's the only artillery fire from the French. All the other batteries have limbered up and pulled back, so now it's volley fire. Okay, volleys now. Grenzer's here, shooting at these guys. Large battalion. So it's 2 dice plus a CD, but it's an inferior volley because they're shooting in the woods. The CD is the black one. Oh, geez, 10 and 5. Okay, that's going to be volley inferior. 10 is 2, plus 1 is 3, and a discipline test. So these guys are now at 11, so they're 1 off breaking. They'll do the discipline test straight away. So they'll be testing as recruits because they are line quality. 7, so they go unformed. So they're unformed in the woods there, not surprisingly, because they're only 1 off breaking, so they're in a bad shape. The next to fire will be these Grenzers. They're shooting at the young guard, exactly the same as before. 2. Okay. 4 is nothing. I think it's going to be fire discipline. Yeah, they've lost fire discipline, but they have inflicted a casualty with the casualty die, so they go up to 6. So they're now worn. So now it's the French turn to return fire. These guys can fire with a single CD. Hey, why not? They might as well. And well, that's good because that takes these guys up to 6 casualties. So it might be at the last gasp, but it's a good thing because it does mean that if these guys, well, they're worn. Now, this young guard battalion here, they would be firing a single CD. If they fire back, they won't. Oh, actually, they might as well. So it's a single CD at the line. Yep, they got a hit as well. So that's one casualty on them. So that's their first casualty they've taken, and that just leaves these guys here to fire a volley. I'll fire at the ones directly to their front, which is the Prussian Guard skirmish line. So it's a inferior volley. 7. So it's one hit on the Jaegers and Schützens. And that's all the volleys. There is no hand-to-hand combat, so that concludes turn 12. Turn 13.
Scott, where are you?
So all up, the Allies have 6. The French have 5, but they do have a 1 to reroll. So it's 6 ADCs each. Okay, so I've allocated all the ADCs. They are none to any of the brigades from the left to right until you get to the Prussian Guard. They have 3. They have a reroll and 2 by scouting. Then Menzeltov has, did I say scouting? Skirmishing. Reroll, 2 by skirmishing. Menzeltov, skirmishing without a reroll. Helfrich is Russian, skirmishing without a reroll. And then Moore's Austrian Grenzer, skirmishing without a reroll. So, let's go. Prussian cavalry first. They're fine. Austrian cavalry. They're fine. Moore's Austrians, or Hohenlohe's Austrians, I should say. They're fine. The Prussian Guard. They're fine. Menzeltov with just a skirmish tasking. He's fine. Helfrich with just skirmishing. He's fine. And then finally Moore's Grenzers with just skirmishing. He's fine. Okay, that is it for the Allies. Let's see what the French can do. So the French, for their part, they've allocated 4 ADCs to the Guard, brigade. So a brigade tasking artillery assault and skirmish. So the Young Guard, they've got 2. They've got a reroll and skirmish. So that's their 6 ADCs. All right, so let's roll from right to left. So the French light cavalry without a reroll. They're hesitant. The Saxon heavy cavalry without a reroll. They're good. The Guard with their multiple taskings. They're good. Mason's brigade. They're good. Carpentieri's brigade in the center. They're good. The Young Guard with their single tasking. But they've got a reroll. They're good. And the final roll will be for Albert's brigade. And they've got nothing. And they're good. So we have 1 hesitant brigade for the French, no hesitant brigades for the Allies, but both will be rolling 3 dice and 3 dice, and we'll see what happens. So now here we roll. We're both rolling 3 dice, and we both take the 2 lower. The French are the black dice. Okay, so the 2 lowest is a 4 and a 4, and for the French, the 2 lowest are a 5 and a 1. So the Allies have the initiative again. So the first thing we're going to go to is charge declarations. The Allies have 1 charge. This Grenzer battalion here is going to charge these guys here. Now they're at 6 casualties, though they're warm, but these guys are at 11 casualties and they're currently unformed. So they're going to throw caution to the wind and give it a crack. See what happens. If these guys shoot, then they'll lose the support reroll. And these guys aren't close enough to provide support, and skirmish lines can't support from the rear. So, and the column's not within 3 inches. So they'll be unsupported unless they get a shot from these guys. So the Austrians are feeling bold and they're going to give it a crack. Okay, so first thing that's going to happen is these skirmishers can shoot before they evade away. So they will fire with 1, 2, there's 4 of them. So 4 CDs at the charging Austrians. Okay, so 4 CDs. 1 hit, which is nothing, and then they did him out away. They've thought better of it and legged it. With all these howling Grenzers coming forward. Now, these guys get 1 weak volley. 1. They've lost fire discipline. Okay, so that's interesting for them. Now these guys here, they can either provide a support reroll or they can shoot. Given the circumstances, a support reroll is probably better. So it's going to be 3 dice from the Grenzers because they are basically worn. But that's it. And it's going to be it's going to be 4 dice for these guys because they're worn and they're unformed. Okay, so the black dice will be the French, and both sides take the lower 2, but these guys will have a reroll. Okay, so they've got 3 and 3 and a 6, and the French got 3, 1, 1, 1. So they'll take 2 1s. But because of those guys, they can re-roll the 1. And they're 5, 6. So it's a drawn charge. And so what that means is you've got to draw, close the combat, and that's it. So now we go on with any other charges. None from the Allies, none from the French. So now it is movement. Allies have the initiative, so they will move first. So there's been lots of movement from the Allies. All the Allied cavalry's moved here. Volkmann's battery has rode up to here and unlimbered. The Austrians here did a retire to the second line, so they're back here. The Prussian guards have sidestepped. The skirmishers have shuffled forward slightly. Menzitov's brigade has advanced. And really there's not much else going on here except for the Austrian skirmishers. These 2 bases here have come across to pour fire into the young guard. Now it is the French. Okay, so here's all the French movement. These guys have basically refused their flank. These guys here have changed into brigade. This battalion of young guard have broken into an independent battalion skirmish order. So they're skirmishing there. That was the skirmish task that they got from their ADC. These guys have stepped back because they want to get within support distance of these chaps with all this stuff advancing towards them. The batteries that did emergency retires last turn, they've had the retreat markers lifted. That's all they can do because units that have retreated cannot voluntarily move in this phase. If they could, this battery I would have moved out of the harm's way because 1 more hit, they'll disperse and that will falter the brigade. Over here, all that the guards have done is their brigade skirmish line has moved in front of the heavy cavalry, and that is it. That's the movement for the French. So now we go into shooting, and the skirmishers will start. We're going to start with the skirmishers. These guys here, they'll have a shot. They've only got 2 dice, but you never know your luck. Not this time. Okay, so that now takes us up to. So it's normally 6, but they've got 6 casualties, so they're now down to 5. But they've got the skirmish tasking, so they get back up to 7. 7. They could drop 2 and shoot into here with 5, which is what they'll do. So they're going to fire 5 into the BUA, trying to hit the poles. only got one hit, so nothing there. So these guys now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, skirmish task 7. They're going to shoot at these guys here. That's only 5. I'll need to throw another 2 in there. So far only, okay, yeah. So that's 1 casualty, so they'll go up to 2. The brigade skirmish from Menzeltov's brigade, they've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. They could shoot at them with 7, and they will. They could shoot at these guys. They'll shoot at the young guard. So they've got 7 dice. Mind you, they'll drop 1 because they're shooting into the woods. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Skirmish task 6, 7. Drop 1 because they're shooting at these guys. So 6 dice at the young guard. 6, 5, 4, 3 hits. So that's 1 casualty. These guys will go up to having 7. These guys here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that's 6. 6 at the young guard. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that takes them up to another 2. That takes them up to 9 casualties. Okay, and then finally over here we... Okay, so the Grenzers. 2 here. That's 1, 2, 3. Skirmish task. 4, 5. Down to 4 because of the woods. Shooting at the young guard. Double 4, 2, so that's another one, so they go up to 10. Right, they are looking very brittle. So that's all the skirmishes from the French, from the Allies. From the French now, nothing here because they fired when they evaded. So these guys can't shoot. That only leaves the Polish in the BUA. They have a skirmish task, so normally it's 5. Skirmish is 6, 7. So they've got 7 dice, and they will shoot. I'll shoot at these guys again. Okay, so 7 dice coming out from the Poles into the Guard Jaeger. 1, 2, 2 hits, so they're now got up to 7 casualties. Oh, and we almost forgot this young guard battalion. They've got over 6 casualties. They're currently on 10. So normally with 5, drop down to 4, shooting inwards down to 3, and they'll shoot at the skirmishers here. 1 hit, which is nothing. Okay, so that's all the skirmish fire. So now we go to artillery. Okay, so now this is where things get cruel. That Austrian battery on the hill there will fire at this battery here. If I can get 1 hit on it, it'll destroy that battery. Okay, so it's just an inferior shot onto this battery here. 3, 4, so they're just hurt themselves. That battery has been doing so well up until the last 3 rounds, in which case it's just gone low on ammo, and then fatigue casualty. So they're up to 3 now. The Russian battery, they're going to have a crack. So again, just 2 dice inferior. 9. Okay. 9 is 1 hit, which takes this battery up to 10. Batteries disperse at 10, so this battery is now destroyed, which is part of Carpentieri's brigade, and Carpentieri's brigade will now falter. Okay, so the Prussian Guard artillery, they're going to continue with firing on this battery here. So again, it's a long-range shot. And they've gone low on ammo. Looks like we're going to have to use the last case on there. So it's a real mixed bag. It was terrible shooting, generally speaking. 1 battery did well, 1 had a fatigue casualty, and the other one's got a low on ammo and a fatigue casualty. So that's, if that was artillery, that's all the artillery firing, then that's pretty abysmal. Okay, so now as the French artillery, these guys have got artillery assault. They can either shoot at these Austrian infantry here, but there's no bouncer or anything like that. But hey, it's still a good target. It wouldn't be canister, but this battery is deployed, and it's also a nice target as well. And I think they might be able to shoot at the hussars if they wanted. So I'm going to let the dice decide, because David's not here. So it's 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, they're shooting at the Austrians. Okay, so the red dice will be the casualty dice. It's a standard shot. 6. I think that's going to be 1 plus the red dice is going to be 2. So a standard artillery battery. Consulting our widget. So it's a standard battery. Roll the 6. 1 if if it was canister, it would be a discipline test, but it's not canister range, so it's just going to be 2 hits on these guys. And all the other French batteries are limited or destroyed, so there's no more artillery. Now it's volley fire. So we've got a volley here from these Austrian Grenzer battalion. It'll be just a single dice, because it'll be into woods, at skirmishes, but they are large, so they get 2 CDs all up, and the red one will be the actual battalion firing. So 2 CDs, and they've got nothing, but they have lost fire discipline. So that's the second time it's happened to those poor chaps. Any other volleys? I don't think there's any others to speak of. No. So now we will go into hand-to-hand. Actually, there is a couple more volleys. We could have a volley from these guys, because that's 9 inches, and certainly from these chaps. So the Hanoverian Legion will fire a volley, and they'll fire at the light infantry battalion. So just a 2 dice, inferior. 5 is nothing. And these guys here could fire a volley at that skirmish screen there, and so they will. 4, and that's fire discipline, so they've lost fire discipline. Okay, maybe we'd be better off if we hadn't fired the volleys. Right, now we go to hand-to-hand. Okay, so the Austrians will get normally 5 dice, but they're carrying 6 plus casualties, so they drop down to 4. The French would normally get 5 dice, but they're carrying 6 plus casualties and they're unformed, so they drop 2, so they're down to 3. So it's going to be 4 dice versus 3 dice. All right, Austrians are red. The Austrians have got 1 hit. The French got 2, but 1 will be enough to destroy the Austrians, so that will be classed as a Pyrrhic victory. So we'll just sort that out. Did I say destroy the Austrians? I meant destroy the French. Okay, so that means Albert's brigade is now faltering as well. So the Pyrrhic victory means that they convert the loss to a win. They've taken the ground, unformed, and the supports that were within almost in base contact by the time they destroyed these guys, I've just moved them back so that they're 3 inches away from these guys. So, but no, other than that, no other effect on them. And so that is all the combats. That's end of this turn, and we're moving on to the next one. So we're now at the start of a new turn, and here are all, we're rolling for the ADCs. The French are black. Okay, so the French have 1, 2, 3, 4, and they get to re-roll that, and they've missed out on those 2. And the Russians and Austrians have 5. So now they'll re-roll the one they missed. Okay, so they have 4 to 5. They have 2 faltering brigades, so automatically they lose 2. So they have only 2 ADCs to use for this turn. Hey guys, so that is now where we're going to hold it for the time being. We're up to the very beginning of turn 14. ADCs have been diced for. The situation's looking pretty grim for the French. They've got 2 faltering brigades with 4 ADCs in their hand, but they're going to lose 2 to shore up morale. So they've really got 2 to play with, and I suspect Dave's going to go with just giving those faltering brigades re-rolls. As for the Allies, they've got 5 ADCs, but it looks like they've got something special up their sleeve, and it might see all those ADCs being allocated to one particular brigade. But we'll have to wait until the next video for that. This video is going for about an hour and a half now, so I want to wrap it up and move on. If there's been any mistakes made, by all means let us know. This second half of the battle, I've been playing pretty much remotely and solely as it like a solo type game, because Dave's not here. But I have been sending details from at the end of each turn to Dave to help him make up his mind what he wants to do with his ADCs, and also been sending him short videos and photos, so he's got a fairly good idea of what's going on at his end, and we've been working collegially in regards to what the Allies should be doing. So, for example, Dave might say, allocate ADCs to this unit and this unit, and then I might offer suggestions. Hey, what about this? And sometimes he goes, no, I'm fine with what I've done, or you'll say, yeah, that's a good idea, and go with that. So it's been an interesting experience playing it semi-solo, for want of a better description. It's almost like back in the COVID days, God forbid. So we're going to wrap it up there now, and what we'll do is we'll be back very shortly with part 3 and the conclusion to the Battle of Liebertwolkwitz. You should expect to see the final video up probably in 2 to 4 days after this one. So I look forward to your comments, and if you feel the urge, like, share and subscribe, and we will see you again soon. Yippee.